If you listen, I will show you how to combat certain school-type shootings. The reality of it is that you can't simply dispense with guns. It won't work. It never did work. It just creates genocide because that group that doesn't have a weapon gets massacred by the group who does have a weapon. Never worked. Never going to work. You can put non-lethal bullets in a gun, particularly if you use teachers and the like to try to protect your students. Instead of lethal bullets, a non-lethal bullet gives them the option to not take a life but stop an attacker. And a non-lethal bullet can be anything from hitting someone with a baseball to hitting someone with a sledgehammer. You can also put beanbag guns, if you want to call them that, in a school, and in that case the beanbag hits the person, but they're going to have to stand and fight with someone with an armed weapon. That's going to kill them, most likely, and that means that police and what have you, those you hire to protect your children, are not going to want to die today. It's just a fact of life. The only people that you can really probably depend upon, in a shooting situation to protect your children are the parents of those children. You have to hire the parents to protect their own children, and they will probably do that because they have a vested stake in the outcome, and they will just simply be aware that it's their child that's on the line, and that makes a difference. Otherwise, they stand outside, just like they did in Florida, just like they did in Columbine, and I don't know how many other places. Most likely, those who are hired to protect against a shooter are not going to go and risk the idea that they're going to die today for you. They want to live. Doesn't work. Doesn't work to arm the school either. That's because, a person can just wait till the children come out. Don't actually have to go into a school. They can wait till the children come out. There are other, even far more serious places well, we're just not going to discuss that because it just gives ideas. So that's out. But nonetheless, you can't solve the problem in many ways, including the idea that trucks have now been running over people. It doesn't mean you can ban all trucks. Nobody suggests that cars run over people. Doesn't mean you can ban cars. The fact is that inner city children in particular are murdered probably every day or every year than what these tiny little white children's schools are getting killed at. And it is, of course, a white problem because they are white children being shot and they're white shooters doing the shooting. It is a white problem, and that's why you're getting a little more talk today. Nonetheless, here are the facts in what you can and cannot do, or what you can realistically do, and that is you can create a smoke screen. When someone comes into the door and a parent situation is involved, you can open canisters that create a smoking gas that will, destroy their visibility. The approximate places where shooters are likely to be, and you can do a little bit of good that way, not a whole lot. You can put a paint mist out into the air, and that way everybody that's in the location gets painted, and that way if they run out of the school, without a gun and what have you, you can see who is or who is not involved in that particular situation. You can add smells to that. In other words, if you have a shooter in place and the situation is dire, instantly you can open gas valves that cause tear gas to come out or cause people to vomit or things like that. Make people blind, in other words. You can do that without any real problem and use the fire alarm system to do that. You can put cameras at the entrances instead of locked doors or doors that are able to be locked, and you can put people in a monitoring room, and then they can use a remote controlled non-lethal weapon of some sort or other to distract and control any predator that's on the premises and give the rest of the time to get out. That's far superior than to have an armed guard at the door who can be simply shot, or who can just simply want to protect his own life. If you have a monitored situation with, remote or robotic controls, then you can, they are safe and they will take the actions that you ask them to take because it's their job and they're safe. So it's more effective. Then we get to, let's see. I moved it down a time too. The gas and the smell and the smoke and the stuff will be okay, and non-lethal bullets will enable some people. You can even have students with some guns if you want. But the primary effective methods of controlling this situation is to put partitions in the major areas that you need them in, particularly partitions with wheels. They're basically shields. And they need to be able to stop a bullet. And that means that, if we have a shooter involved and your targets are behind a partition, they can then, not be shot because the partition stops the bullets. And of course, then we have to, if we have wheels, we can take push the partition to the side, and you can actually put weapons in the partition, which would be non-lethal bullets that can be fired either as a major volley at an attacker. Anybody who's in the front is likely to be moving out of the way, so it's probably not going to matter. They'll be on the floor, or they'll be moving, or they'll be shot. So, and you can move the partition, and any student that is behind it can then control whether or not that is fired. If you have two people to fire it instead of just one, that might be better, it might not. You can use those to create a sound piercing directional noise, so that when you have a shooter involved, you pull the button, so to speak, and an extreme loud ear-piercing noise comes out directed right at the shooter, and that will disorient him and stop him from being able to concentrate or focus on what he is doing, and he will most likely turn and run away, because if he doesn't, he will lose his ears. That's an effective method. You can also put other types of things inside that partition, such as paint gun pellets and things, to mark the person that you want to catch. And for that matter, inner cities that have a problem with drive-by shootings in particular, you can put pedestal mounts on the corners, and if you have a drive-by shooting, you can paintball the weapons or the car, or if the windows are open, you can get to the inside. And once you have identified the vehicle, you can get them later. So, and those paintball things can be operated by either someone standing there, which, and there are variations to that. Mostly they would probably be turned on with the report of a gun. And if you have, there are sound recognition softwares and things that can tell whether a gun has been shot or not. And then once you have that recognition, the whole machine can turn on and be robotically controlled, and you can have you can have it shoot in all types of different directions, or you can have it directional and controlled by any number of cell phones that just happen to be in the area with a particular app, and you can do things like that. At any rate, if you can mark the vehicle, you can stop the vehicle, and you can find out who is or is not involved, and that will give you a much better chance of stopping those things. But back to the schools. So we have a partition that will stop bullets that you can hide behind, and you can also fire behind. People behind on one side can fire one direction. If you're on the other side, you fire a different direction. Triggers on both sides with weapons facing the other direction. Or more correctly, non-lethal weapons facing the other direction, because you don't want to kill somebody on and you did not want to. And unfortunately, even non-lethal bullets can kill if they hit in the wrong place. But it is the best that is realistically possible. You can also have handheld noise makers that are a directional screaming sound that will stop and refocus the predator into I got to protect myself instead of fight against you. And once you do that, you can also actually shoot him with the gun, non-lethal. But you can get his attention, and you can force him the other direction. And a gun that would do that would be, we're just going to take a pipe. All right, so we're going to take an air horn like projectile here. Well, and then we're going to put a gas charge canister in here. Now we're going to put a opening. You're going to open the gas charge cylinder, and we'll have a little valve up here. And once you open the valve, it screams at it. And the back pressure will open the back part as well. So you have actually two little canisters here. Once the back opens, it becomes a projectile the other direction. I can give you actual diagrams for that, but this is enough for you. Anyway, and once you have done that, the pipe that it came in, which is basically a baton, then is your own weapon to further stop him if you're in close range. And that is the majority of what can and cannot be done. Other than what you have to do or what you need to do is recognize that these are mental issues. These are issues of anger that get out of control. Insanity is about feeling trapped. That's all that insanity is. Once you feel trapped, that you have no options, that you're, trapped, and then you focus on it's because of them, or it's because of him or her, or whatever it is, then desperation takes over and violence comes out of it. So you have to recognize who feels trapped and who does not. And you also have to recognize what is want. Want means that you're able or willing and capable of making lies. And don't want, I don't want this to happen, I don't want, and you're the fault. That circles around in the brain and comes back around and around and around again until you go insane if you don't stop wanting or not wanting. So that is another issue that has to be dealt with. And then the schools need to be democracies, little democracies of their own. In other words, the children themselves, or the students, whatever you want to call them, need to be their own governing instrument. They need to bring their own students to trial in front of their own group, so that a problem can be addressed and anger can be heard, and then perhaps modified. Those who are angry turn to hate if they get too far down the line, and once hate takes over, then violence erupts. You have to get it when it's angry, and to stop an anger, you have to recognize and listen to, why is this angry? Why is this person having a problem with us? What is the problem? And once you have the problem identified, you can then make adjustments if that seems fair and reasonable. You have to let the law decide when somebody is too far down the road, and you have to be fair, and you have to be consistent. And you have to be respectful of the fact that, even if it doesn't affect you, it does affect them, and all of the rest of that. But you need to take care of, the students need to take care of themselves. This is a part of society that you're going to go into society. The more you learn about dealing with society as people in one place that's too crowded, the better off society will be. You have to learn You have to experience how to do this. You have to make you have to accept the responsibility for including everyone, not excluding anyone. That is the primary defense against people going over the edge and then shooting at you. Simple as that. Your primary defense is not letting someone be excluded to the point that they have no options and no friends, or feel trapped by themselves, or are so lonely they cannot stand themselves or life or whatever it is. You have to deal with it. And that's just the facts. Pay someone to do it if you need to. Pay the people, or in some form or fashion. But remember, if you are talking to another person, they are equal to you. Even if they have problems that you don't, they are still equal to you, and you may experience their problems some point in the future. Even if you're rich today, you can be poor tomorrow. You can be lonely, you can be injured, you can be ugly. A gas flame can suddenly rise up in your face. There's any number of things that can go wrong. Literally, you can be sick. There are lots of reasons people get lonely, people get upset, people get mad. I am, or have been, angry on my own, because the primary cause of all the threats that we face are the people who think that they are so smart that they can't be wrong. Arrogance is a terrible problem. It's worse than that. Pride is an enemy, because pride says, I am the winner and you are the loser, and there's nothing but trouble in that. Pride is a violent thing. Don't be a winner. It means you have to make losers out of everybody else. Try to be equal instead. There are an endless number of threats that I did mention. Among them, we use more oxygen. Humanity consumes more oxygen than this earth produces. We're running out of water. The food is in jeopardy. The planet is threatened with extinction. The planet is threatened with a nuclear fire. $1-trillion machines are running and about to start up that are entirely, its entire purpose is to create a nuclear fire, just like is on the sun here on this earth. You can find the biggest and most recent, soon to be finished, if not already, is iter.org. And being wrong in that situation means that the world itself is on fire, because atoms are the fuel. And if their plan is that there's not enough gravity here, so that the fire will just go poof and out into outer space, or it can't stay because there's not enough gravity here. That's the whole plan. There is no other plan. That's their plan. So they're gambling every life on the planet on all kinds of fantasies. That being one. They say graviton. We're not going to discuss that. It's just a case. So you can go to Just Talking 7. Just Talking, the number 7.info for information site. And you can go to justtalking5.info for a listing of threats and so on and so on. You can go to Just Talking 6 and find this video. The list is long. The fact is that children are sacrificed already, and you have no future. And that's because, to start with, 100 million people add to the population every year over deaths. The resources will run out. The list is long. But for the time being, you can at least solve this one tiny little problem if you are active about it. Don't bother to try to spend trillions of dollars that you don't have. It won't work anyway. That's just the college educated saying, yes, we can spend the money. That's all it is. Spending the money. It won't help. That are, fools in charge are fools in charge. They are the people that cause most of the problems. And it is that simple.